The black dating market was built on economic exclusion, right? I need y'all to understand that. There's nothing that a black man or black woman could do to cause this, right? I'm gonna walk y'all through it and break it down so that way we can have a conversation. So the thing is that black people were set up to fail. Y'all keep acting like the problem is black men versus black women, but like we woke up one day and just decided to hate each other. No, the real problem is that black men got systemically robbed, black women got systemically locked out, and then America told us to date like white people, right? In a system that was never built for us to win. Right, so let's just start with the facts. Black men weren't allowed to build generational wealth. Every time we tried, they stole it. Tulsa, burn. Rosewood, burn. The GI Bill handed to white men when black men got scrapped. Social Security literally excluded black workers at first, right? So white men got free land, free houses, free education, and a head start. Black men, you know what they got? Job discrimination, mass incarceration, and redlining. But somehow we're expected to be providers in the same way. How? With what? Right? Like that's the conversation that black men are trying to have. But hold on. There's another conversation that's going on at the same time. Black women weren't allowed to build financial security either. Right? They couldn't own property for years. Years. Right? Couldn't even get a bank account without a husband or father signing. Right? Got pushed into domestic work that paid nothing. Right? So, and they were forced to be main caretakers even when they work full time. So now they're exhausted, right? Because America expects them to work full-time and be full-time caregivers, unpaid, no development, nor growth. Are you seeing it? Right? The American dating model was never for us. The American dating model does not work with black couples. The reason why white couples prospered back in the day was government handouts, one-income households that only worked because government backed the wealth. The government was acting like somebody's wife. Right? And black people never got that. Okay, so instead of fixing the system, America just told us, work harder. Black men stop being so broke. Black women stop being so independent. No, just fix the decades of exclusion that got us here. Okay, just fix the road that took us here, and we'll stop walking on it. Okay, so black men were never allowed to build wealth. So the struggle to become provider, so they struggle becoming the providers America expects them to be. That is all that happened. Okay, and the lack of sympathy that we're being encouraged to show to each other is just wrong, right? Black women were forced to work and do unpaid labor, so now they're exhausted and don't want to carry men. Period.
I gotta say a few things real quick before we keep. You know what? Let's keep going.
That's it. Okay, black women could not be paid to work, but had to. Do you understand that? You like black men, we at least got to have the land stolen from us. A black woman would have never got that deal. Okay, she would have had to stay home her whole life. Had to find a man her whole life. Okay, like that isn't normal, bro. You didn't need to go find a wife to be able to succeed in life. You didn't feel like that. Okay, and I hate that I have to explain it, but we're not the enemy. Both are struggling, but instead of fixing the system, America just makes us turn on each other. So if we're going to talk about black dating struggles, we have to talk about how economic exclusion created relationship insecurity in the first place. Stop blaming each other. Start blaming policies that rob both of us.
Points were definitely made. Because the video's not that long, but there's a lot that I want to get to. I'm gonna replay it so I could kind of go through it piece by piece because I want everybody to hear it in its totality because people like to hear it that way. So let's go through it piece by piece real quick.
The black dating market was built on economic exclusion, right? I need y'all to understand that. There's nothing that a black man or black woman could do to cause this, right? I'm gonna walk y'all through it and break it down so that way we can have a conversation. So the thing is that black people were set up to fail. Y'all keep acting like the problem is black men versus black women, but like we woke up one day and just decided to hate each other.
No, black men and black women. Let me start with, of course, economics plays a humongous role in how we date. I don't care what race you are, right? But yeah, especially for black people, economics play a humongous role, right? The problem that I have with this video overall is it's the same argument that is made about like black men selling crack in the 80s, let's say, right? It's the same argument made about the violence that exists in our neighborhoods today. It's the same argument that's made about black men going to prison or whatever, right? Whatever systemic problem that exists within our community. If your take on it is the white man, at the end of the day, then you've missed it. You've missed what was going on. 2 things can be true at the same time. 10 things can be true at the same time, right? Yes, economics plays a humongous role in how people date. No doubt about it, right? But what does that have to do with cheating? What does that have to do with infidelity? Isn't infidelity a choice? What does how much money a man makes have to do with him listening to the woman that he's in a relationship with, him caring for his children, him cleaning up more? What does that have to do with anything? It doesn't. It has nothing to do with that. Like, there are certain things that you can say makes our relationships really, really hard, or harder than anybody else's, right? You know, generally speaking, I will 100% agree to that with no question, no doubt about it, right? But as soon as you start saying that's all it is, like you start speaking like that, then you lost me. You lost me. Black men and black women did not wake up one day and start hating each other. Black women don't hate black men, first and foremost. Black men hate black women, but because men hate women in general, right? But black women don't hate black men. So we didn't wake up and start hating each other. Black men, even before the white man was on the continent of Africa, they were subjugating black women, right? The patriarchy started on the continent of Africa. It didn't start in Europe. It started on the continent of Africa, right? They took it to another level in Europe, but it already existed, and it existed on the continent of Asia as well. It was already here. It was already there, right? Like slavery, like look at it like slavery. Slavery existed well before chattel slavery, well before the transatlantic slave trade, right? But you know, and we know that chattel slavery is different than the slavery that existed on the continent of Africa, but slavery as a concept still existed. So one can say, if slavery never existed anywhere, then slavery, you know what I'm saying, on Africa, on any continent, then it wouldn't exist today. It wouldn't exist in Europe. You know what I mean? So we are partially to blame for what happened with us, because we allowed such a terrible thing to happen. That is what Martin Luther King Jr. was talking about when he was saying, and I'm paraphrasing because I always mess up this quote, but he was like, an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere, right? Like, that's pretty much what it is. So yeah, they came in, white people saw the model, Asian people saw the model, whatever, slavery, and was like, hey, we want some of that. And then slavery was exported around the world, and then different cultures had different versions of slavery. And, you know, the one that ultimately led to the vast, you know, the issues with black people in this country and abroad was chattel slavery. That was the one that took hold in Europe. But slavery existed. That's how the patriarchy is. The patriarchy on the continent of Africa may not have looked the same as it did in Europe, but black men were already subjugating black women before we got to America, before we did, right? That's just the reality. And Africa is a humongous continent. So yes, there were places that were matrilineal. There were places that weren't so there were places that didn't really practice the patriarchy like that, but it was on the continent. It was prevalent. It was in a lot of places. It's just a reality.
The real problem is that black men got systemically robbed, black women got systemically locked out, and then America told us to date like white people.
Now, there are poor white people. Just so we know, most white people are poor. Most white people in this country are poor, right? So if economics is the problem, right, then you would have to explain the scores of, you know, low middle class, poor working class white people that are married and, you know, whatever. But the reality is that definitely economics affects any situation, and it exacerbates every situation. And so does race. So once again, I can acknowledge that racism plays a humongous role in and economics plays a humongous role in dating for Black people. But what he is not acknowledging is the patriarchy. He's not acknowledging misogyny. He's acting like, oh no, we didn't do this. It's just a money thing. Like, explain Elon Musk. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are tons of wealthy white men who are out here fucking wildly abusive to their women. You know what I mean? Like that, like money doesn't when I looked up, I remember a long time I was looking this up, but it was I think it was like, it might have been IPV rates for like poor people. I know, not poor people, it was like IPV rates. And I think it was like for kids, I want to say. I don't remember why, whatever. I can't remember exact thing. You guys could look this up. Hopefully I'm right about this. It was, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years ago. But I just remember, if I remember correctly, it was like, it didn't really matter how much money the man or, the family had or whatever when it came to IPV in a home, like especially towards children. Like, it was like wealthy people abuse the fuck out of their kids too. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't matter. It didn't matter whether they were rich or poor. The kids were still getting abused, so explain that. Is that economics too? Because I don't think it is. I think there are other things at play here, and we must speak on what they are. I'm okay with talking about economics, but I'm not okay with us acting like it's all rooted in economic, because it's not.
Right? In a system that was never built for us to win. Right? So let's just start with the facts. Black men weren't allowed to build generational wealth. Every time we tried, they stole it. Tulsa, burn. Rosewood, burn. The GI Bill handed to white men when black men got scrapped. Social Security literally excluded black workers at first, right? So white men got free land, free houses, free education, and a head start. Black men, you know what they got? Job discrimination, mass incarceration, and redlining. But somehow we're expected to be providers in the same way.
By who? Who expects black men to be providers? You talking about the black women that always worked? The black women that never got provided for, ever? But all of a sudden in 2025, they expect black men to be providers? That's just not correct. And this is a young man. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is really not like to go at him. We just gotta, you know what I mean? Like, we really just gotta tell the truth about this. Like, I hear the point he's trying to make. He's trying to tie in systemic racism, systemic oppressions to how much that affects our interpersonal relationships. There's no way for, like, of course that's true. Of course. Another thing that affects us is the fact that we don't want to get educated as black men, but most men are anti-intellectual. Most men are anti-intellectual, not just black men, but black men. There are more per capita. There are more anti-intellectual black men than any other group of men. Right? Like, that's just the reality. And I won't even say anti-intellectual necessarily. I mean more. There are more black men that are completely uninterested in getting an education per capita than any other group of men. But generally speaking, the vast majority of men in this country are uninterested in getting a formal education of any sort. The vast majority of men are, but more black men per capita are uninterested, right? But saying that black women expect black men to be providers is wild. It's not true. When black women are the group of women that are most likely to be the breadwinners in their family, out of any other group of women. So you're talking about that group of women also expect us to be breadwinners. If that is the case, then it would actually be white women being less likely to be breadwinners would reflect that they actually are the ones who expect their men to provide for them. Asian women not being breadwinners would actually reflect that they're the ones who expect their men to provide for them. Black women being way more likely to be breadwinners and make, and roughly in most houses, they make roughly about the same amount of money. And in a lot of houses, they make just as much or more money than black men, proves that black women actually have the opposite feeling. They actually don't expect black men to be providers. Black women actually go above and beyond to make sure that that pressure is alleviated for most black men. They protect us in that way, right? They are very sensitive. They know they're hypersensitive about that, and they protect black men. So when a black man says that black men are expected to be providers, that is actually a lie in my book. That's actually just inaccurate. And you could try to mask it and hide it and slide and put it in this bread of like, like random facts about what was going on throughout history with black men and all these like, like truths or whatever. Like I'm not like, once again, nothing that he's saying as far as like what happened and what's happening to black men is arguable in my mind, right? The vast majority of of it I talk about often. So I agree with him, obviously, but acting like that, like this is the reason, that's just not true. That's not the reason why. It's not the only reason, not even the biggest reason why.
How? With what? Right? Like that's the conversation that black men are trying to have. But hold on. There's another conversation.
Who are black men trying to have this conversation with? Other black men or with black women? Because once again, if you're trying to convince me that black women are out here expecting black men to be like breadwinners and sole providers, then I don't know what to tell you. That's just not true. But black women having any expectation of black men, right? Saying that they want a black man to be able to provide for himself gets met with this kind of pushback of like, oh, so you expect us to go out and have a job? They've been oppressing us. And she like, nigga, I got a job. How the fuck do I have a job, but you don't? Oh, you expect us to go to college? The white man's is holding me. She's like, nigga, I know. I know because I was at college. I know they didn't want me there. But you can go too. What the fuck? So please, let's not like, come on. Like a lot of this stuff is I won't say self-inflicted, but a lot of these issues have nothing to do or little to do with economics. A lot of these issues have way more to do with men being entitled, black men being entitled and wanting to, I won't even say act like the white man in this instance. Like I said, black men have been hell-bent on the idea of subjugating black women for some time now, way before America was established as a country. Way before the USA was established as a country, black men were subjugating black women. Black men were buying black women from their fathers and giving them land and giving the fathers land and goats and fucking bumblebee milk or whatever the fuck they was giving them. You know what I'm saying? Rare gifts and silks from the East and salts from the Himalayas or whatever the fuck they had. Like that, like black men had been doing that, been paying dowries, been doing that shit. So miss me with that, bro. Like that's not like, like this is just not true. Like this is like, it feels good. It does feel good to blame all of our problems on white men. It does. I ain't gonna even lie. But some of this shit is us. Some of this shit existed before the white man, before the white man existed. Not just America, but before the white man existed. Let's clock that.
That's going on at the same time. Black women weren't allowed to build financial security either. Right? They couldn't own property for years, right?
And here they are, the largest demographic of single home buyers, out of single people is black women, right? Per capita. Or no, I think overall, if I'm not mistaken. I'm a little sleepy right now. But yeah, so I like, you know what I'm saying? Like if black women are doing it, black men can do it. More black men can do it. And of course, every black woman isn't doing it. Of course, most black women are still suffering. Most black women are still behind the 8 ball because of the systemic oppression and all of that stuff. I agree. I know that. That's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not, but in spite of all of that, you have all of these black women that are winning. You have all of these black women that are, you know, carving their way out, right? Like cutting through diamonds, like, like they're cutting through fucking solid, you know what I mean? Like solid rock, man, like just carving their way in the world. And then you hear and then you listen to a black man talking about it's the white man. And I'm like, yeah, bro. I'm the biggest, you know, proponent of like, this is not a pull yourself up, but this is not a pull yourself up by your bootstrap speech at all. But I do want black men to acknowledge the role that we actually play. If I were talking solely about economics or solely about education, and I was just like, all black men have to do is just go get educated, that would be wrong. That's not what I'm saying, because I know that even if tomorrow every black man flipped the switch and was like, I'm going to college, they would just lock us out of college. It's the same thing that he was talking about with Tulsa and all of that stuff, just in a different way. You know what I'm saying? Like, they would just lock us out of college. They would say you can't get a loan unless both of your parents sign for, you know what I mean? Like, they would do something, and it wouldn't be like racial. It would just be something that would affect black people exponentially more than every other group of people. Like they always do, right? Yeah, they'll hit some of their own, but they're definitely going to hit us mostly. You know what I'm saying? So that's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying there are tons of things that we do within the relationship and to ourselves in life, or don't do, that we have 100% control over as black men. And what we do is we blame everybody else. But guess what? So does every other group of men. Like, white men do that too. Poor white men blame everybody. They blame immigrants. They blame black people. They blame the government. Like, they blame. But I'm like, bro, you can get, like, imagine a white man crying about not having a job. You'd be like, bro, you're a white man, right? Like, that's how we think as black men, right? It's kind of fucked up, because same thing applies to them. You know, not as bad, but same idea. If every white man woke up tomorrow and was like, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to get an education and I'm going to get out and get a 6 figures, they would just change. They would just make college more expensive. You know what I'm saying? Most white men are fucked. Most white women are fucked too. They just, it looks better, right? Like, we say America is a ghetto with a Gucci belt on or some shit. I forget what the saying is, but y'all know what I'm saying. What it is, you know what I'm saying? It's ghetto. I mean, Earth is, America. I'm sorry, I said Earth. America is fucked up. America is fucked up, right? We just make it look good. White people are fucked up, but working class white people are screwed. But it's like, they don't have it as bad as us. So we go, oh, look how great they got. You know what I mean? But in reality, it's fucked up. And that's the same thing that they think. They think that's how the system kind of keeps functioning, because they go, at least I'm not them niggas with the hard ER. That's the reality. But let's stop acting like white people got all of this shit and they not broke and they not struggling and they just locked the black man out. Like these aren't truths. This is not defending or any, this is just not, it's not historically accurate, right? And it matters in this context, because essentially all I'm getting from this is whitey did everything bad to black men and black men just can't recover. And I'm like, I mean, we can do some shit. We can do something, you know, but we don't want to as a group.
Couldn't even get a bank account without a husband or father signing, right?
White women couldn't either.
Got pushed into domestic work that paid nothing, right?
White women did too, believe it or not.
Right. So, and they were forced to be main caretakers even when they work full time. So
white women did too.
Now they're exhausted, right? Because
well, not back then. I'm sorry, we're talking about way back in the day. There were white women that were actually working a lot too. You know what I'm saying? And we also have to understand that not all white people that we consider white today were white back then. So if you're talking about like Irish women, what do you think Irish women were doing? You think they were just like living it up in the fucking 1890s and the 1910s and the 1930s? Like, no. It was, you know what I'm saying? Like they was going through their shit, and Irish people were, I mean, not Germans, Scottish people and Italian people and Greek people or whoever came over here from Europe, white people, they were Slavic people, whatever, Polish people, they were getting fucked over too. Right? This thought right here, that my point in saying all of this is your approach to this is just too binary and it lacks nuance. It just lacks too much nuance for me to agree with it. I want to agree. It feels good. Trust me. I read the comments. I saw what the people were saying. I was just like, because I was reading it. I'm watching it. I was just like, this ain't true. I was like, that's not what it is. Like what, like I said in the beginning, like what the fuck does any of this have to do with a black man being faithful to his woman? What the fuck does any of this have to do with a black man not abandoning his kids? What does economics have to do with that? Seriously, think about that. The reason why black men abandon their kids is the same reason why white men abandon their kids, because they hate the women. That is the patriarchy. They ain't got nothing to do with money. Because Elon Musk does it, because Nick Cannon's doing it, because all these serial baby daddies out here that are wealthy that we all talk about every day, Future, they're all doing it and they're wealthy. So you can't blame economics.
America expects them to work full-time and be full-time caregivers, unpaid, no development, nor growth. Are you seeing it? Right? The American dating model was never for us. The American dating model does not work with black couples. The reason why white couples prospered back in the day was government handouts, one-income households that only worked because government backed the wealth. The government was acting like somebody's wife, right?
And you acting as if white marriages were good and healthy is crazy. That's what I'm saying. Again, this thing where it's like everything black people did was shit and everything white people did was rosy is wild. It's disrespectful to us. And and you know what I mean? Like you're pedestalizing white people. It's like, what the fuck? Absolutely the fuck not. White men be abandoning their babies. White men was knocking their wives' head between the washer and dryer. White men were financially abusing their wives. White men were sexually abusing their wives. White men were raping their wives. White men were impregnating their wives against their will. White men was having 13, 15, 17 kids. White men were cheating with Betty across town. Like white men were doing that shit too. What are you talking about? Just because they were married and living together and raising a family doesn't mean the marriage was healthy. It does not mean the marriage was healthy. White women was getting fucked over too. Marital rape wasn't made illegal in this country until 1993, 1994. That goes for white women. That wasn't just for black women. White men. Donald Trump's ex-wife said under deposition that Donald Trump raped her when they were married. Donald Trump's ex-wife said that under deposition when she was, whatever, getting money or whatever from him, going through like alimony court or family court or whatever. She said that under oath. So yeah, I believe her. That is a billion. That's a billionaire white boy that was raping his wife. So yeah, no, I don't want to hear that shit, bro. I don't want to hear that shit. This shit is about the patriarchy. When it comes to dating, when it comes to how we treat women, it is the vast majority of it stems from this idea that that women are objects and things to be controlled and dominated and not seen as humans, and children are not seen as humans, and they are seen as extensions of the mother. So if you hate the mother, if you leave the mother, then fuck them kids too. That's what's going on. Let's talk about that. That's the problem. Money or no money. What is you being nice? What does that have to do with you being broke? You being honest. What does that got to do with you being broke? You being consistent. What does that got to do with you being broke? You being you being vulnerable with your significant other. What does that have to do with you not having money? Tell me. Most wealthy men are not fucking vulnerable either. They got the same fucking issues, man. Jesus Christ.
And black people never got that. Okay, so instead of fixing the system, America just told us, work harder. Black men stop being so broke. Black women stop being so independent. No, just fix the decades of exclusion that got us here. Okay, just fix the road that took us here, and we'll stop walking on it. Okay, so black men were never allowed to build wealth.
Do you think rich white people are like happy in their marriages and shit? Do you not like I really want to know, do you think like wealthy white people from like wealthy white families are like happy and healthy? There's a documentary on Netflix. I forget what it's called, but it's about this family from either the Carolinas or Virginia. One of either the Carolinas or the Virginias, right? Anyways, essentially the patriarch of the family ended up killing like his son, his wife. You know what I'm saying? He killed like a farmhand or something like that. Like he killed like a good amount of people. And he killed somebody before that too. Like he killed like 4 or 5 people. You know what I'm saying? All to protect like the fact that he was like a failure as a, typical like white man type shit if you think about it to a certain extent. But I hate to say it that way, but it was like failed white man, like shame pretty much. And so he which could happen to anybody, but it happened, and it typically in this country happens to white men the most. And he ended up like killing his son, and to cover up for these crimes that his son had committed, and his son was like an embarrassment to the family, and da 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 da. You know what I mean? Like it was crazy, right? You guys can go watch it if you look it up, if you know if you know. But yeah, that like, bro, like and they came from money. He was like a 3rd generation lawyer. Like his grandfather was like the lawyer to like the 19th president of, you know what I'm saying? Like he came from that pedigree, that blue blood American. Like he came from that pedigree, right? And he was a nut. He was a nut. The wife they were all like dysfunctional, all of them, functioning alcoholics, like all of them, dude. Please. Stop this shit. Stop pedestalizing white people. Stop pedestalizing wealthy people. When it comes to this shit it runs so much deeper than money, dog. I promise you.
So the struggle to become they struggle becoming the providers America expects them to be. That is all that happened. Okay.
America? You see what I'm saying? So we're talking about 2 different groups. America is who? Predominantly white people. Okay. So you want to talk about white women expecting black men to be providers. Fine. But we primarily don't date or marry white women or non-black women, right? So, and this whole thing has been about black men and black women dating each other. That's what I'm getting from this. And again, black women don't have the same expectations of black men that white men do. So when as soon as he said America, that's the giveaway. Because what are you talking about? There are 2 Americas. We know that, right?
And the lack of sympathy that we're being encouraged to show to each other is just wrong, right?
Where is the sympathy for black women from black men? Black women, again, have a ton of sympathy for black men. Where is the sympathy from black men to black women? If whatever sympathy that you're seeing like is going away from black women, it is because black men refuse to empathize with black women. That is what it is. Not all of this other bullshit you're talking about, family. I promise you, nephew, that's not what it is.
Women were forced to work and do unpaid labor, so now they're exhausted and don't want to carry men. Period.
Yep.
That's it. Okay?
Yep.
Black women could not be paid to work, but had to.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand that? Like black men, we at least got to have the land stolen from us. A black woman would have never got that deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she would have had to stay home her whole life. Had to find a man.
Nor did a white woman. This is what I'm saying. If we're talking around these times, were white women owning land? Were white women able to do the things that you're saying black women? No. Yes, it was worse for black women. But I'm saying, generally speaking, the point is white women were also excluded from money, from access to wealth, from resources without a man present. That's my point. So you can't say that. You can't say like, oh, that's the problem with black people. But that was also the problem with white women. And between white women and white men. That's there is a common denominator. We don't need to separate ourselves from that. We need to understand that part of it. Like, well, damn, even white women were going through that. It's not to be like, oh, they're white women. Like, that's not what it is. It's to be like, okay, well, damn, even white women were going through that. So what is that? Because it's not racial. It's something else. Oh, it's misogyny. Or, you know what I'm saying? Or if it's towards black women, then it's misogynoir. That's what that's what we have to understand. That's why it's really important to tell the whole story with as much nuance as possible. This is like you cannot shy away from that. We got to stop being on that like black and white in this sense, literally and figuratively. Their intersectionality is a real fucking thing. Yes, it is. I don't like it when we try to do this to convince white people to join our plight. I don't do it. Don't do it under those circumstances for me. I don't care. But I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like that. But when we are trying to understand what black people have gone through, then we must talk about it all. We must say, well, damn, well, but white women were going through that too. So what is that? That was the patriarchy.
Her whole life. Okay, like that isn't normal, bro. You didn't need to go find a wife to be able to succeed in life. You didn't feel like that. Okay, like, and I hate that I have to explain it, but we're not the enemy. Both are struggling, but instead of fixing the system, America just makes us turn on each other.
We are a part of the problem. We're not the enemy. We're not the only threat. We're not the only issue, right? So when you say we're not the enemy, I agree. But we are an enemy to black women. We are an enemy to black children. The white patriarchy could not function in our community if black men didn't participate in it. So yeah, black women participate in it too. The same way white women participate in their own oppression at times. They have internalized misogyny. They just went into the voting booth and voted against their best interests when it comes to their gender, not when it comes to their race, but when it comes to their gender, right? Like, happens all the time. Black men, we do shit like that too. We do shit like that too, bro.